Hey. Alright, so The Witcher is a 2019 Netflix TV series. It's based on some video games and also some books and short stories written by a Polish author, Andrzej Sapkowski, who is a Polish writer. So the first season is 8 episodes. It's a fantasy show. And I really enjoyed this series. In my opinion, it had some strange parts to it. Not strange as in like in regards to the world or the story or anything. Just it's about the main character, Geralt of Rivia, who is what is known in this world as a witcher. So he is half elf and he's been trained to kill monsters. So he cruises around this world known as the continent, killing monsters, and people pay him to do that, and that's basically his role in the story. He's played by Henry Cavill, who does a pretty good job of portraying him as a stoic, very standoffish type character, I guess you'd say. So we follow 3 main timelines in the story. One of them is about Geralt of Rivia, who is the Witcher, obviously. One of them is about Yennefer of Vengerberg, who is a mage who is taken from being an orphan to this sort of academy of witchcraft and wizardry, basically. And the other story is about Ciri, who is the princess of Cintran, and she escapes Cintran being invaded by the Nilfgaardian troops. It's all very complicated. I don't want to get into too much detail about this part of the story. I just want to offer my opinion on it. But these 3 stories in different timelines, and eventually throughout the season they kind of start to make sense, and you can kind of work out where in time these stories are, because they're basically decades and decades apart, and as the series goes on you kind of work out what the timeline is. I personally liked that part of it, and I didn't really find it hard to follow. Like, it would sometimes be like, wait, what time are we at right now? But after a few seconds of hearing some dialogue, they kind of explain in subtle ways of whereabouts in the timeline it is. So I never really found myself getting lost in terms of that. I thought it was pretty easy to follow, and even though I have never read the books before, I've never played the games before, I didn't find it overwhelming or hard to work out, the lore of the story or anything like that. So, in my opinion, that sort of stuff wasn't really a problem to me. I thought the acting was quite good. The visual effects were really, really well done. Like the monsters and the style and the design of the monsters and the world. They really nailed that gothic sort of horror type style with the monsters, and they were that part of stuff was really well done. Costumes and visuals and stuff were really well done, except for maybe the Nilfgaardian army. Their costume looks a bit comical. It doesn't quite look as intimidating as it possibly could have been. In terms of visual effects and everything, it's pretty good. I would critique some of the inconsistencies with the magic that they use in the show. Like, there are some instances where it's like, if you can do a spell where you can, stop someone from moving and freeze them, and then the next minute you're, trying to fight off 10 people, but just before you could freeze them, why don't you just freeze them now? Like, there's no explanation behind any of these inconsistencies with some of the magic and spells, and I figured that was one of the things that kind of like triggered me about the show. But it's meant to be a fantasy. It's meant to be, if they do a spell, sometimes something has to be sacrificed. Like at the start of the show, they do a spell and a flower dies because they're extracting the life out of the flower to do the spell. So I think some of those things could be, used if you want to justify to yourself how this actually makes any sense. But overall, I think it's really, really well done for someone who hasn't got any preconceived bias about the show. I'm not biased because I've never played the games, I've never read the books, I don't have any sort of loyalty to the franchise or anything. So from someone coming fresh into it, I thought it was a really good program. I actually think there are some similarities between the main character and The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia, and his stoic personality, and also that of the main character of the Mandalorian, which I haven't finished yet, I'm still watching. And I feel like that's a similar sort of character, very not very expressive, but you still grow to like the character, and even letting some of his flaws come out throughout the show. It's not like your typical hero who can, you know, do everything and never get injured or something. You always feel like everyone's very mortal in the show, you know, like they're not going to die and just spring back to life and stuff. So there was some weird stuff in the series that kind of like jumped out to me as a little bit jarring. Spoiler alert, maybe potentially. The Golden Dragon episode where the Golden Dragon was Borch, just the way that the dragon could talk, and so I just feel like for a visual TV series they could have maybe done something different with the story, written that a different way to make it a bit less comical, where this old man turns into the dragon and you don't really see how that happened or worked, and his voice is just coming out of the sky. Like, it's just a bit strange to me. The music in this program is bloody awesome. The main song about the Bard character sings about the Witcher is, I'm pretty sure anyone who watches the show has that song going on and on and on and on and on in their head. You can't get it out of your head, because I know I do. And yeah, I would say I would recommend watching this program. If I was to give it some sort of rating, I'd probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10. It's a strong show. I can't wait for the next series, and I think they can build on this and definitely they could definitely make better seasons into the future. So that's my opinion on it, and thanks for watching.